Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful. Today my mom told me before she died. Eric is stunned to realize that Daphne is his long-lost daughter. Is it impossible to resist Daphne's pull as Carter cheats on Hope? Hope Logan is being cheated on by Carter Walton. Will Carter be unable to withstand Daphne Rose's pull? Daphne is ready to ruin Carter and Hope's relationship now that she's back in Los Angeles. It's clear from the way Daphne looks at Carter that she's thinking about more than just friendship. Carter is likely underestimating Daphne's potential for temptation, even though he may believe he can maintain a cordial relationship with her. It will be difficult for Carter to be loyal to Hope once Daphne starts flinging herself at him. Hope was also able to get over her feelings of betrayal when the coup failed and Daphne kissing Carter. Daphne could make it her goal to blow things apart, but Carter and Hope are back on track. Given the affectionate looks Carter was giving her at work, Daphne might not have to put in a lot of effort. Fans of B&B are already noticing some warning signs of cheating, as Carter even acknowledged missing Daphne. Carter giving in to temptation with a lady he shouldn't be sleeping with would not be the first time. It's possible that Carter may soon go into bed with Daphne and do Hope the greatest possible harm. The trust that Hope and Carter have attempted to re-establish will undoubtedly be eroded by Daphne's LA comeback. Indeed, Daphne might deliberately try to undermine that confidence and jeopardize Carter's future with his present fiancé. Daphne will do her hardest to prove that she is the better fit for Carter since she feels that way. Now that Daphne is using her charm and magic, it will be interesting to see how long it takes Carter to give in. In any event, it looks like Carter is officially on the verge of cheating on Hope. Carter Walton and Hope Logan's carefully reconstructed relationship now faces its most potent threat, the return of Daphne Rose to Los Angeles. Her arrival isn't merely a homecoming, it's the detonation of a meticulously placed emotional landmine, primed to shatter the trust Hope and Carter have painstakingly rebuilt brick by fragile brick. The central, agonizing question hanging over Genoa City like a storm cloud isn't if Carter will succumb, but when. Is Daphne Rose's magnetic pull truly impossible for Carter Walton to resist, setting an unstoppable countdown in motion towards his devastating betrayal of Hope? All signs point towards a collision course, a slow-motion car crash of fidelity that viewers can see coming from miles away, yet Carter seems tragically oblivious to, or perhaps willfully ignoring, the flashing warning lights. The foundation of Carter and Hope's renewed commitment, built on the shaky ground of past forgiveness for Daphne's impulsive kiss and the bitter fallout of the Spectre Fashions takeover debacle, is inherently vulnerable. Hope demonstrated immense strength in moving past that profound sense of betrayal, choosing to believe in Carter's remorse and their future. They've navigated back to stability, rekindled their engagement, and outwardly project a couple on the right track. But this hard-won equilibrium is terrifyingly precarious, a house of cards susceptible to the slightest disruptive breeze. Daphne, however, isn't a breeze, she's a hurricane, and she's landed squarely in their path with an agenda simmering just beneath her polished exterior. The danger lies not just in Daphne's presence, but in the palpable, almost electric, nature of her specific focus on Carter. Her gaze, whenever it lands upon him, transcends mere friendship or professional courtesy. It's laden with an unmistakable intensity, a possessiveness, and a raw, unspoken desire that anyone observing, especially Hope, should she witness it, would instantly recognize as a threat. This look speaks volumes. Daphne is back, and she wants Carter Walton. Not as a friend, not as a colleague, but as hers. Carter, ever the optimist or perhaps the self-deluded romantic, might genuinely believe he can compartmentalize, that he can maintain a strictly platonic dynamic with the woman whose kiss once ignited chaos in his life. He might tell himself, and Hope, that his feelings are firmly under control, that his devotion to his fiancée is an impenetrable fortress. This belief, however, is his fatal miscalculation. Carter is fundamentally underestimating the sheer, intoxicating potency of Daphne Rose when she sets her sights on a target. He forgets, or chooses to ignore, her formidable will, her calculated charm, and the undeniable, volatile chemistry that has crackled between them since their first encounter. He forgets how easily he was drawn in before. He is woefully unprepared for the full force of Daphne's determination, a force now laser-focused on dismantling his relationship with Hope. Make no mistake, Daphne's return is strategic. She isn't merely passing through, she is poised to upend. Her mission, whether driven by genuine belief in their connection, lingering resentment over past rejections, or simply the thrill of the conquest, appears clear. To sabotage Carter's future with Hope. The trust Hope and Carter have tried to rebuild isn't just something Daphne might accidentally erode through her presence. Evidence suggests she will actively, deliberately work to destroy it. She perceives Hope as an obstacle, an inferior match standing between her and the man she believes is rightfully hers. In Daphne's worldview, she is Carter's perfect counterpart, his intellectual equal, his passionate match, the one who truly understands his ambitions and complexities in a way Hope supposedly cannot. This conviction fuels her resolve. She won't passively wait, she will orchestrate opportunities, whisper doubts, exploit moments of vulnerability, and relentlessly throw herself at him with a sophistication and persistence Carter has never faced from her before. The office encounter, witnessed by keen-eyed observers, and undoubtedly the audience, laid bare the immediate peril. Carter's hard eyes weren't a figment of imagination, they were a glaring neon sign broadcasting his lingering attraction and susceptibility. That look, coupled with his unguarded admission of missing her, are not subtle hints, they are deafening klaxons, the first flashing digits on the countdown clock. These are the classic, textbook cheating warning signs that soap opera fans know all too well, the precursors to inevitable downfall. Carter's own history becomes his worst enemy in this scenario. His track record regarding temptation, particularly with forbidden or complicated women, is abysmal. His past is littered with moments where passion overruled principle, where desire obliterated duty. Whether it was the explosive affair with Quinn while she was married to Eric, or other entangled relationships, Carter has repeatedly demonstrated a weakness for surrendering to intense physical and emotional connections, especially when they come with an edge of danger or taboo. This ingrained pattern makes him uniquely vulnerable to Daphne's calculated allure. She represents not just attraction, but a familiar path, the path of intense, illicit passion that has derailed him before. The question isn't if he possesses this weakness, but how potent is Daphne's specific formula for exploiting it. Her magic, as it were, seems uniquely tailored to bypass Carter's defenses. Her blend of intelligence, assertiveness, vulnerability, real or performed, and that undeniable spark they share creates a cocktail Carter has proven unable to resist in the past. Now, with her consciously turning on the charm, refining her approach, and exploiting his admitted sense of loss during her absence, the pressure becomes immense. Every shared glance, every private conversation, every moment where Hope isn't present becomes a potential step closer to the precipice. Carter's desire to be devoted to Hope is sincere, but it wars against a powerful, almost primal draw towards Daphne, a draw amplified by history, proximity, and Daphne's unwavering focus. The countdown metaphor is chillingly apt because the outcome feels less like a possibility and more like an inevitability waiting for its moment. The elements are all converging, the catalyst, Daphne's return, the combustible material, their unresolved history and potent chemistry, the vulnerable target, Carter with his established weaknesses, and the active arsonist, Daphne determined to ignite the flame. Hope, despite her resilience, stands perilously unaware of the magnitude of the threat brewing right under her nose, trusting in a commitment that Carter's own eyes betray. The trust rebuilding process is already being chipped away, not by accident, but by Daphne's deliberate, corrosive actions. How long can Carter withstand the onslaught? How many chance encounters, meaningful conversations, or moments of perceived neglect from Hope, which Daphne will expertly highlight, will it take before his resolve crumbles? Days? Weeks? Each episode becomes a tick of the clock. The tension lies not in if he will betray Hope, but in the agonizing when and how. Will it be a moment of perceived weakness? A deliberate choice fueled by passion and Daphne's persuasion? Or a slow erosion of boundaries that culminates in an undeniable, catastrophic lapse? The devastating impact on Hope is a foregone conclusion. It would be the worst way possible to hurt her, a brutal repetition of past betrayals amplified by the specific perpetrator being Daphne, the woman already associated with pain and professional sabotage in their shared history. Therefore, the narrative isn't asking if Carter will cheat, it's meticulously documenting the path towards that seemingly unavoidable conclusion. Daphne's pull isn't just strong. Within the volatile ecosystem of Genoa City, fueled by Carter's history, their chemistry, and Daphne's unwavering determination, it appears overwhelmingly potent, perhaps even impossible for Carter to resist indefinitely. The fuse is lit. The clock is ticking. Every lingering look, every charged interaction, every moment Carter spends in Daphne's orbit brings the explosion closer. The countdown to Carter Walton shattering Hope Logan's trust, and potentially their future, with Daphne Rose as the catalyst, is not just on, it's accelerating with every passing second, hurtling towards a point of no return where Carter's devotion meets its ultimate, foreseeable test and, tragically, appears destined to fail. The only suspense left is the agonizing wait for the final, devastating tick. Hope's obsession with Liam causes her to lose Carter. The finest thing that has happened to Hope Logan on the CBS soap opera in a long time is Carter Walton. Hope Logan found one of the most affectionate and eligible bachelors in Los Angeles in spite of all the odds. This week, the couple will face a new obstacle as Carter waits for Hope to choose a wedding date. Here are the upcoming episodes of Bold and Beautiful. For all the latest soap spoilers, continue reading below. Returning to Forrester Creations, Daphne Rose. According to spoilers on Bold and Beautiful, Daphne the Nose Rose has returned to Forrester Creations. Since everyone is recuperating from this shooting and waiting to see if Liam Spencer awakens, the office will undoubtedly be a ghost town. She will, however, see a lot of Carter Walton. Daphne admitted she was falling for Carter before she left town, leaving Forrester Creations in the dust. Carter spent some time with the scent specialist once the chaos of the workplace takeover subsided. But in the end, he told Daphne that his heart belonged to Hope and turned her down. Hope and Carter started celebrating their engagement shortly after Daphne left town. B&B spoilers indicate that Hope Logan will be so preoccupied with her ex-boyfriend Liam Spencer and his operation that she won't even realize she's ignoring her future spouse. Hope is fortunate that Daphne is back in town and will be ready to give Carter Walton up. Logan undervalues Daphne, I hope. It will most likely be too late by the time Hope discovers that Carter and Daphne Rose are having an affair. Will Hope and Carter truly make it to the altar, in your opinion? Or, when Hope is sitting by Liam's bedside, will he cheat on her with Daphne? Carter, embodying the antithesis of Hope's tumultuous past, loyal, decisive, and wholeheartedly committed, wasn't just a rebound, he represented a conscious choice for peace, a sanctuary she actively chose to build after years of romantic whiplash. He stood patiently, ring on her finger, awaiting the simple act of setting a wedding date, a symbol of his faith in their future. Yet, this hard-won tranquility is now poised to shatter not through external malice, but through Hope's own internal, deeply ingrained pattern of prioritizing Liam Spencer above all else, a pattern so entrenched it renders her tragically oblivious to the profound emotional neglect she inflicts upon the man who offered her unconditional love. As Liam lies vulnerable after the shooting, Hope's world contracts entirely around his hospital bed, her focus laser-sharp on his recovery, his surgery, his very breath, while Carter, her fiancé, exists only on the periphery of her consciousness. This isn't a momentary lapse in judgment, it's a full-scale emotional abandonment, a reversion to her default setting where Liam's needs eclipse everyone else's, including the man who pledged his life to her. Into this vacuum of neglect steps a figure from Carter's recent past, one whose presence underscores the peril Hope is courting, Daphne the Nose Rose, returning to Forrester Creations at a moment when the office echoes with the aftermath of violence and uncertainty, but finds Carter Walton, solid, present, and increasingly isolated in his own relationship. Daphne, who once confessed her burgeoning feelings for Carter only to be gently but firmly rebuffed because his heart belonged solely to Hope, arrives not as a mere colleague, but as a woman who recognized Carter's worth before Hope began to take it for granted. She returns witnessing not the hopeful fiancé eagerly planning a wedding, but a man relegated to the shadows of his partner's obsession, a man whose patience and devotion are being eroded by the painful reality that his place in Hope's heart is conditional, secondary to Liam's existence. Hope's single-minded focus on Liam is her fatal romantic flaw, blinding her to the quiet devastation unfolding in Carter's eyes, to the way his once assured presence now carries an air of weary resignation, to the subtle but growing distance between them that she dismisses as stress rather than the chasm it truly is. She fundamentally underestimates Daphne, viewing her perhaps as a harmless relic of Carter's past or a temporary workplace distraction, failing to grasp the potent combination Daphne represents at this precise moment: lingering affection for Carter, the sting of past rejection now juxtaposed with Hope's visible neglect, and the opportunity presented by Carter's emotional vulnerability. While Hope sits vigil for a man whose love was always divided, Daphne is free to offer Carter the one thing Hope is currently withholding: undivided attention, appreciation, and a reminder of his desirability. The tragedy isn't that Carter might seek solace elsewhere, it's that Hope's actions are actively pushing him towards it, creating the perfect storm where Daphne's genuine feelings and Carter's bruised ego and unmet needs could combust. By the time Hope's tunnel vision clears, by the time she finally tears her gaze away from Liam's bedside and truly sees Carter, it will likely be too late. She may witness the burgeoning connection between Carter and Daphne, the easy conversation, the shared understanding born from mutual respect and present attention, a stark contrast to her own distracted absence, and realize with horrifying clarity that she sacrificed her sanctuary on the altar of her Liam obsession. The question hanging over their engagement isn't merely if they'll make it to the altar, it's whether Carter, having experienced the cold reality of being second best in his own fiancée's heart, can ever trust her prioritization again, or if the damage is irreparable. Will he cheat? The potential is terrifyingly high, not born of inherent disloyalty in Carter, but as a desperate grasp for warmth and validation after being left emotionally frozen out by the woman he loves. Hope Logan landed Carter Walton, the embodiment of steadfast love she craved, yet in her compulsion to fixate on Liam's crisis, she is demonstrating the very behavior that poisoned her past relationships, placing Liam's needs above her partner's. In doing so, she isn't just risking her future with Carter, she is actively dismantling it, brick by emotional brick, proving that sometimes, the greatest threat to happiness isn't a villainous scheme, but the unhealed wounds and destructive patterns carried within. Carter Walton was the best thing to happen to Hope Logan in years, a beacon of healthy love, and her Liam obsession might just be the storm that extinguishes it, leaving her alone once more, the architect of her own romantic ruin, while Daphne Rose stands ready to claim the prize Hope carelessly let slip through her fingers. The sanctuary is crumbling, and Hope, fixated on a distant, flickering light, doesn't even hear the walls falling down around her and the man who built it for her. Eric, a suffocating shroud hours after the monitors had flatlined and the quiet weeping had subsided. He sat alone now in the oppressive silence of his mother's living room, surrounded by the fragile relics of her life, porcelain shepherdesses frozen in time, faded photographs whispering of happier days, the worn velvet of the armchair still holding the faint impression of her form. The weight of finality pressed down, a crushing physical ache in his chest, but beneath it, coiled like a venomous serpent, writhed the words his mother had gasped out with her dying breaths, clawing for air, her frail hand gripping his with surprising, desperate strength. Eric, listen, you have to. Daphne. Daphne is, your daughter. Your daughter. I'm so sorry, kept her from you. The confession, ripped from a place beyond fear or consequence, had landed like a grenade in the quiet sanctum of his grief, obliterating the known world in a blinding flash of incomprehensible revelation. One moment, he was a son mourning his mother, adrift in the vast, numb ocean of loss. The next, the ground beneath him had liquefied, swallowing him whole into a chasm of seismic, world-shattering shock. Daphne. The name echoed in the hollowed-out chamber of his mind, a sound both familiar and suddenly, terrifyingly alien. Daphne, the vibrant, whip-smart young woman who had joined his architectural firm barely a year ago, whose sharp wit had challenged his designs, whose infectious laugh had brightened tense meetings, whose keen eye for detail he'd admired, even fostered. He'd seen a brilliant protégé, a rising star whose ambition mirrored his own younger self. He'd felt a paternal pride, yes, but a professional paternalism, the kind reserved for exceptional talent you nurture. Never, not in 1,000 lifetimes, had the thought, the monstrous, impossible thought, pierced his consciousness: my flesh, my blood, my child. The sheer, vertiginous impossibility of it locked his muscles, froze his breath. His mind became a battlefield, logic and denial clashing violently against the raw, undeniable truth etched in the agony of his mother's fading eyes. How? The question screamed silently, tearing through the fragile fabric of his memories. Fragments surged, unbidden, chaotic. Sarah. Sarah with her sunshine hair and eyes the color of a summer storm, the passionate, whirlwind affair nearly 30 years ago, cut short by his own youthful ambition, his decision to pursue that prestigious fellowship overseas. It had been intense, consuming, but ultimately, he'd believed, finite. He'd left, promising vague futures that dissolved in the distance, the relationship fraying under the strain of separation and diverging paths. He remembered the final, strained phone call, Sarah's voice tight, controlled, telling him it was best they moved on. He'd felt the pang of loss, yes, but also a grim acceptance, burying himself in his work, building the life he now knew. There had been no hint, no whisper, of a pregnancy. Had Sarah known? Did she choose to keep it from him? And his mother? Oh, God, his mother. Eleanor. The woman who had baked him cookies when he scraped his knee, who had beamed with pride at his graduations, who had offered steady, if sometimes critical, support throughout his career. How could she have known? When did she discover this? The timeline spun wildly. Daphne was 27. Sarah must have been pregnant when he left, or just after. The realization struck like a physical blow. His mother had known for decades. She had watched him build his life, marry Claire, dear God, Claire. How would he ever tell Claire, struggle with the quiet sorrow of their own inability to have children, a sorrow that had subtly shaped their marriage, a shared, unspoken grief. All the while, Eleanor had known he had a child. A daughter. Living, breathing, achieving, existing just out of reach. The betrayal was oceanic, drowning him in its icy depths. It wasn't just a secret kept, it was a life stolen. Stolen from him. Stolen from Daphne. Stolen from Claire. The years he could have known his daughter, the scraped knees he could have bandaged, the school plays he could have applauded, the boyfriends he could have scowled at, the late-night talks, the shared triumphs and heartbreaks, all erased, replaced by the sterile reality of employer and employee. He saw Daphne's face with agonizing clarity, not just the professional colleague, but the young woman beneath. The curve of her cheekbone, so like Sarah's?